The shows that I watch feel a little bit more removed from reality, potentially because of the production value. They're absolutely so far removed from my reality in the way that they're living, behaving, relating to each other, people saying things that you would never dream of saying. Sometimes I'm on the edge of my seat because it's all of the things I wish I could say to someone that I have a similar relationship with. But I feel like there's stuff we can all learn from it because they're bringing the narrative out of their head and into the open where we can all see it.
The correlation between obviously, therapy and reality TV and society. Obviously for some, everyone will say, oh, look, I just love reality TV because I can just escape and I can just sit on the couch and I can just zone out. But I'd also love to get your thoughts on, is reality TV and does reality TV impact some of the dysfunction that is happening, I think, in society?
Great question. I think the short answer is probably yes. So I started watching reality TV for all of those reasons you just mentioned. I was working in heavy fields. I was working in, as I said, the Coroners Court, and before that in child protection. And in those years before that, like growing up in the 90s and I was a young adult in the early thousands, there was, it was Law and Order. There was lots of crime shows. There weren't really, we had 4 TV channels. There was no streaming. So the choice wasn't really there. It was just kind of a lot of heavy stuff on TV. And at the time I was working in those jobs, I think I'd just gotten Foxtel, and the whole world of like MTV and VH1 opened up for me. And suddenly I could escape into these ridiculous American paradigms where people were doing outrageous things that were so different to my reality and so far away from the work that I was doing that that's all I could kind of handle. And it was amazing. It was the gateway drug for me. And then it was all the Real Housewives and all of the shows on Bravo TV, which are now all on Hey You here in Australia. And so I have just been an OG reality fan, for as long as it's existed now. But I think there's kind of, to answer your question, I think there's a lot that's shifted. And probably partly to do with reality TV, probably partly to do with social media. Everybody now has access to their own, video camera. Everyone can create their own reality show on YouTube, on social media, on TikTok. Everybody is a star who has a camera. And I think that has changed the perception of, our access to stars is completely different now. We have these parasocial relationships with people who are on TV, in music, in film, that we never would have had access to before. In the 90s, Jennifer Aniston was this, high profile superstar that we would never have dreamed of getting close to. Now we can watch her playing with her dog in her lounge room, on Instagram. So there's a lot that's shifted in the kind of, I guess, the culture of entertainment. So I think all of that has probably contributed to a lot of the dysfunction. And as much as I enjoy social media and love a doom scroll as much as anybody, I can absolutely feel how bad it is for me. And I'm really not impressed by a lot of the stuff that I see. I don't love what it's doing for women and for body image, and this completely fake created kind of version of people with AI and all of the kind of face tuning and editing. And, I do worry. I've got 3 young kids, and I think, like, what's your future going to look like if this is kind of where we're at now? So, of course, I think there's a lot that's wrong with it, but yep. I also am completely addicted to it.
Yeah. I saw the other day, it was funny, on this topic, was around, me as a kid, mum and dad were like, don't sit so closely to the TV. And then they've got 2024 Apple Vision Pros
Yeah.
stuck to your face, and it's
So
interesting
true.
how just that change has happened.
Yeah.
I find with reality TV, some of it is just so, you just sit there and you go, this is just so not reality. But
Yeah.
and obviously there's a lot of scripting around, like they call it reality TV,
Yeah.
but a lot of it is scripted and a lot of it is shown in different lights, because obviously we see, like, even with things like The Block, right?
Yeah.
Some of this stuff you go, like even the recent series of The Block, and it's like, oh, are these people going to come back for the finale? Of course they're
Yeah.
going to be there for the finale. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it
Manufactured drama.
it is. It is.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because obviously it must be really interesting, because obviously a lot of these reality TV shows with the casting of these people must work with psychologists and stuff like that to go, how do you think this person's going to react? And how,
Yeah.
there must be this kind of team behind the scenes that are like, how can we pick someone? Oh, she's got some big triggers. We're
Yeah.
going to be able to get her to cry a few times through this series. Like
Yeah.
I'm sure it's kind of, they know how they can push and prod and what reactions they're going to be able to get, and how that,
Yeah.
like from a Block perspective, okay, we need some different personalities here, and we need probably a couple of couples that are probably going to rub up against each other not well, and these aren't going to get on and these will get on. And
Yeah.
I just find it quite fascinating.
Absolutely.
But with anything, I always find through a show, I always find the finale or the final last couple of episodes the best ones to watch.
Yeah.
Because the ones during it, I think, are a bit wishy-washy. But when you're getting to anything, it's even like sport. I don't really watch much rugby league through the season, but when it gets to the finals and when, everything is on the line, their season is on the line, sometimes careers are on the line, that's when I think you really see the performance and you see the potential, and people really deal with the pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there are a lot of people that just join or just catch up on those reality shows in those last few episodes, because they do so much recapping that, you really probably don't have to watch the whole thing. But
Yep.
it's really interesting when you're talking about the psychologists and the team of people behind, because I think you look at a show like Married at First Sight, they technically have, psychologists
I've
on
never
the
watched an
show.
episode. Never.
Okay, well, look, to be fair, your brain would be in far better condition than most in that case. But, they have these 3 experts that are apparently matching these couples together.
Yeah.
But it's so obviously not. It's so clearly put together by production, because they're making sure they're putting people who are polar opposites. You've got a city girl and a country boy, and an outspoken person with a really quiet, shy person, a really, sexually embracing kind of person with someone with no sexual experience. And, it's like you can just see what they're doing. And yeah, that makes for an interesting show. And it would be potentially quite boring if they actually matched people based on who's going to be the most cohesive and, calm couple.
Yeah.
So, I think audiences are savvy enough now to see that there's so much of production in all of these shows. And we know now what happens to people when they go on reality TV. They all get a social media profile, and a lot of them are moving towards the influencer space or podcasting. I mean, how many more podcasts from reality stars do we need? But, here they keep coming. So you also question the authenticity of the majority of these people that go on the shows, because you think, well, are you here to find love? Because that's the show that we're watching. Or are you just writing this out for notoriety and fame and, being able to sell HelloFresh at the end of this on Instagram? So
Yep.
I think we're watching these shows differently now. Then certainly I did watch the first season and I was, loving it. It was more genuine and authentic then. But now we've got a new season next year, and it's like, well, already all the drama's all over the Daily Mail. We're getting all kinds of insider info about what's happening, and it is all about the drama. So I think if we can watch these shows with the understanding that it's not what we thought it was going to be, and it's not what they're actually selling us, but it is this like
Yep.
wild human behavior with the layers of, I suppose, what their objective is, which is to become someone. Then maybe we can look at it through a different lens and it's a bit more palatable.
Yeah. And I think obviously there's some people that see reality TV as reality, but at the end of the day, you and I both know, Jana, and most people listening to this will kind of go, you know, if I had someone following me around my life and my family life and everything like that, it's pretty boring really compared to reality TV,
Absolutely.
you
Although
know,
there's plenty of drama at my house at 7:30 in the morning trying to get everyone ready for school and out the
or
door. And
6:30 at night.
yes, exactly. I would not want cameras around for either of those ends of the day.
Yep.
But so I do think, yeah, you got to actually be pretty brave to expose your life like that. And it isn't just necessarily a ticket into stardom, and it can come with a lot of criticism and a lot of negativity. Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, would you want cameras following you around, Steve?
No, no,
No,
not at all. Not at all.
no.
Well, at the end of the day, I just think it'd be quite boring really compared to what people think reality TV is. But it's interesting. Reality
Yeah.
TV is a really interesting thing. Tell me, what do you think we learn, as Australians, as human beings, what do you think we most learn from reality TV?
Well, I guess it depends what you're watching, and I am a self-confessed Bravo fan, right? So in my delusion, I feel like that's slightly more highbrow than things like maths or, some of the other
Farmer wants a
offerings.
wife.
Yeah, yeah. Although that's a little bit more, it feels like, I don't know, those country stars are a little bit more genuine. I don't know. There's just something, maybe it's my delusion about, the Aussie battler type. But the shows that I watch feel a little bit more removed from reality, potentially because of the production value. It's all pretty shiny and spectacular on those American shows, and they're so absolutely so far removed from my reality, in the way that they're living, behaving, relating to each other. All of those things take me so far out of my reality that I don't know. I guess what I'm learning from it is how people show up in relationships, what the way that they speak to each other, the way that they're confronting things that, for example, if there's two reality, stars in a show, they break up, they've still got to keep filming together. In reality, we would have the option not to go to that event or to just like hide in the corner and not have to address that person if we didn't want to. But in these shows, they're encouraged to confront each other and be in the same space and say all of the things that they're thinking, because the camera's not inside their head. What we need to see is their thoughts on camera. So you're sort of getting to see people saying things that you would never dream of saying. Sometimes I'm on the edge of my seat because it's all of the things I wish I could say to someone that I have a similar relationship with, or if there's a difficult friendship dynamic, and seeing the way they navigate that and confront things and talk things out with each other. Again, absolutely no way would I react like that in my own life. But I feel like there's stuff we can all learn from it, because they're bringing the narrative out of their head and into the open where we can all see it. So I think there is something to take away from reality TV. Even, the sloppy kind of messy drama shows, maybe what we're taking away from that is I would never behave like that. I would never speak to someone like that. I would never go on TV and behave like that.
Mm.
And all of that just gets you thinking and reflecting. It's like that mirror, that we were talking about before. It's thinking, how does this relate to my own life? And what would I do differently in my own relationships? And that could only be a good thing.
Yeah. Do you think a lot of people watching reality TV, they're kind of escaping, I suppose, because they want to see their relationship, or they're attaching themselves to things that maybe they're lacking in their relationship or their life. And it's kind of, they're focusing on that, but if they could be, spending more time with their partner or spending more time kind of working on that stuff would be more beneficial than actually living in a bit of a dreamland.
Yeah. And look, I mean, we can all take things too far for sure. But I think that's why shows like The Bachelor were so wildly successful, because everybody wants to be loved. And they were kind of selling the dream that you could go on this show and have this kind of fairy tale ending and these dreamlike dates. And, for a time, that was like the number one show everywhere in the world. And it was early reality TV when there weren't that many options in that kind of realm. And I think it sold a dream. And for many people, that was kind of like, oh, well, maybe I'll, find my bachelor or bachelorette in the same way. Whereas now we know it's been cancelled here in Australia. And I wonder if it's because people have wisened up a little bit and see through all the production input and the, manufactured drama and the sell that they're trying to do. Or if people have moved on and are stars in their own lives now, so they don't really need to look to the TV for other, stars and ways to kind of zhuzh up their own life because they can do it themselves.
And, obviously very early on, Big Brother was a big one that kind of hit the screens, and it was very popular in, Sarah Marie and, some of these really great personalities. But over time, Big Brother kind of, back to what I was kind of saying, it was videoing their everyday life, which was actually quite boring. Oh, someone coming in and combing their hair and, and it would actually have to be Big Brother that would actually have to cause the drama and have to cause the unreality, which then became reality, which was the exciting parts of it. But the lives were really like, okay, they're making breakfast. Great. How much? Oh, he puts a little bit too much Vegemite on his toast in the morning or whatever it is, right? But it was quite boring. And I actually think that's why Big Brother's kind of very much died it was very popular and they tried to bring it back a number of times, but I just think it's lost the relevance.
Well, it's coming back again next year, Steve.
Is it?
They're trying again on a new channel. And I don't know. I think they've had to mix it up a few times, maybe to try and keep up with the fast pace of other reality shows. But, it's funny. I loved early Big Brother, where it was just watching them sitting around and forming relationships and, all of that stuff. I loved it. Big Brother Up Late, hosted by Mike Goldman, who I've had on my show. I love him. And he was narrating, from almost like a beanbag, just like commenting on what was going on. And then we go live back to the house because there was some action happening somewhere. And I loved that. But when they started introducing all of that competition and that almost like Survivor level, the Friday night games and whatever, I actually couldn't stand those episodes. I found that really annoying. And of course I continued to watch, Steve, and I did watch all the other iterations. And my gorgeous friend Heidi Anderson is one of the early Big Brother cast-offs, and we talk about this quite a bit, but I loved it, and I really have hope that when they bring it back next year that it's going to be a little bit more like the original format, where it is a little bit more authentic and less interruption from Big Brother and production, but that will remain to be seen.
Yeah, and it's kind of that difference between the excitement of they've got to keep people engaged and keep it exciting all the time. But, as we know through podcasts and a lot of things that you can listen to and watch now and people's real lives, is that people are loving to listen to almost the mundane, boring parts of people's lives because they can relate to them, right? So, like people check out stories now and people love hearing about, a mum that's like, oh my God, I've had the morning from hell, right? And, I woke up, my, daughter had chewing gum in her hair and I had to cut it out or what, like all these different things, because people go, oh,
I'm
I'm normal.
seen. Yeah.
We're all normal,
Yeah.
and I think, you mentioned earlier about, you know, sharing that, you struggle with anxiety. And like, I just love that because we need more of that. For years, I've shared a lot of stuff, and probably some people go and feel a little bit uncomfortable, but I go, if you share the weight off your shoulders, actually, like you just
Yeah.
feel so much lighter because you feel like you can be yourself. You feel like that you can share who you are. And
Yeah.
also, you know that you're not alone.
Yeah.
Whatever you feel, someone else feels, a lot of people feel.
Yeah.
And it's that knowing of we're all very interesting, unique, very complicated human beings.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's at the core of reality TV, right? Those early, early shows where we were just following families around or whatever it was. It was all about relating and you talk about the boring bits, but I feel like those boring bits are what people connect to. Like you said, it's the mundane. Oh, they're struggling to get their kids to school too. And oh, they're having that argument with their partner about talking to an ex on text. And what is okay in that situation? Would I text my ex and would he be okay with it? Yeah, he'd be fine with it, but that ex wouldn't have been. Or, it's like starting conversations. And
Yeah.
I think that's what's good about it. And all of this at the core of it, the podcasting, the talking, the reality TV, all of it is storytelling. And as you
It is.
said, that is like the number one thing that keeps us connected as humans and helps us to feel like we're okay. And no matter what I said today, I could say the most outrageous thing in the world that maybe I would feel like nobody else could possibly understand because this is my reality. And there will always be people listening who will go, "Oh wow, that's like me. Wow. I've never heard someone say that before." Or, "Oh, thank God it's another person talking about this because
Yep.
today I was just feeling like what is wrong with me?" And maybe there's nothing wrong with me. Maybe it's okay to be feeling like this. And so that's why, like you, I feel like it's so important to keep talking about things and to keep sharing our stories and our experiences because that's what makes us human and that's
Yep.
what helps us all to feel okay.